Three, two, one. Welcome to the SaaS Pulse Show. My name is Michael Bertoni, and I'm the founder and CEO of SaaS Talent. And I am so excited today. I have an amazing Philly founder, right? He's got the hat on. Philly founder, Philly through and through, Jon Bidermann. He is the co-founder of the Chef and Bartender Finder. He's also the CEO of his own company, the Biedermann Group. And a lot of people might know Jon that are listening to this. He is basically a nonprofit donor. He built this amazing donor company, Donor Perfect. It's got a couple different names. So Jon, it's great to have you on the show.
Thanks, Michael. I appreciate the invitation. Always great to see other people from Philly in the SaaS space. It doesn't always have to be California or Austin, Texas.
We're crushing it. We're crushing it over here in Philly.
Yeah.
So
you said that I found it was a Donor Perfect. I didn't necessarily found it. I did found the SaaS version of it. I helped write it. In fact, my fingerprints are still on some of the code, believe it or not. Back then, there wasn't any kind of development tools to do this. It was basically used Notepad, and a fellow database architect person and me, and she would then go surfing in the afternoons. But the mornings we would always work together. But I was also in charge of all the sales and marketing, the training and support, cook and bottle washer, and everything. But we got that going. And we only started with 3 customers in 2001. And when I left, we served over 25,000 customers or so over that had to be 20 years. Yeah, close to 20 years.
Amazing.
So 200 employees, and it was a heck of a ride. After that, a new majority owner emerged, and we sat down on a Friday afternoon, and we decided that I would agree to walk away. And it's okay. You know what? It really is okay, because I found another SaaS company called Simply Fundraising CRM. I launched it literally a day after my non-compete ran out. I got my own customers. In fact, I never targeted my old customers whatsoever. I didn't need to. There's plenty of business out there for SaaS companies. There really is. I don't care what market you're in. So we got some customers, started to get the attention of a much larger player. And then they called me just 1 year later, and they gave me an offer that we could not refuse. So we did get bought out. And then I did leave. I wasn't gone for long from the SaaS space.
Yeah.
And that's how I started Chef and Bartender Finder. And I think we talked a little bit about that story, but I also want to let you.
Yeah. I mean, so everybody who's listening to this, I mean, Jon is like a thoroughbred when it comes to startups. I mean, so nonprofits, he basically built a company for over 25 years, right? Got out of that, had an exit. Then he built another company, had an exit a year later, right? and then he basically, and then when I reconnected with him, I saw that he was doing this Chef and Bartender Finder, which seems like a slight pivot. But Jon has a great story. In the pregame, we were talking about his story. Everybody has a superhero backstory. Like, why are you doing this Chef and Bartender Finder, Jon? What's up with that?
Well, there's a couple of reasons for it. The main primary reason is because when I did exit, we exited out of Simply Fundraising CRM, and I wanted to celebrate. So I called up one of my favorite restaurants in the entire world. It's called the Chippewa Inn. It's in northern Wisconsin, in the middle of nowhere, talking way up in the North Woods.
I love that.
But even up there, you can get a bone-in fillet and a 16-ounce Australian lobster tail, and they have German pancake. It's just awesome.
Yeah.
But I called the guy to reserve it, and this is 2 years after, or year and a half after COVID, so they should have been open. But he's like, Jon, we're closed. I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, we can't find any staff. And I'm like, oh my God. And of course, I kind of knew. I mean, I did work in the hospitality industry when I was a teenager. Worked in not McDonald's, worked at was it Hardee's and Arby's. Still
love those Hardee's and Arby's. Love it.
So they're always, the turnover's a lot, but this is a high end place, and I just couldn't believe it. And I thought, and the area is so beautiful. I just could not believe that he couldn't find people, because I know of people that would love to work at a place like that. I
Right.
mean, he actually had like lodging and stuff like that for like, potential seasonal staff and things like that.
Oh, awesome.
So what was, so I'm like, oh, I can't believe this is happening. And then I'm like, you know what? Isn't there some kind of marketplace, for, basically higher end chefs, bartenders, and sommeliers to match themselves with equally amazing and high end restaurants and resorts with the right vibes and family values? And if that sounds rehearsed, it's because I started asking questions. And the entire summer of 2022, I think, yeah, 2022, I spent doing market research and would just walk into, a higher end restaurant, resort, even a hotel, and I would just ask them, hey, what's your, number one pain point? And
Hiring.
29 out of 30 of them just volunteered hiring staff. I mean, it was crystal clear. One person said their point of sale system was their pain point, but the other 29 said staff. So I realized we have this huge market opportunity, and there's no competition. Yeah, there's Indeed and Monster.
I literally can't believe it, Jon. I mean, like restaurant is industry, you probably know the numbers, hundreds of thousands of employees probably. And it's like, you don't have
Yeah,
a marketplace you could go to get talent, cause I'm in town and I couldn't believe it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there is, you go to Indeed or Career Builder, and yes, if you follow along in the little tree and the hospitality industry, it's barely there, it's separated, it's not consistent, and nobody's actually focusing on it, not at great scale, because there are, we did a lot of market research. There's approximately 500,000 restaurants in the US with more than 500,000 in annual revenue. And that's our target market, so our TAM, total addressable market, and so, which is pretty big, all things considering. And there are some, through the way we did find some quasi competitors, but I never worry about the competition because what we've got is a bunch of things going for us. First of all, our tech stack, I'm just using the same principles I did where we can undercut whoever's out there by a factor of 30. I mean, it's, that's my tech background. It's all scalable, reliable, holds 500,000, restaurants can hold, 500,000 users. We're not there yet. We're launching next week in Charleston, South Carolina. But the bottom line is that, for just, less than $1,000 a month, we can have this robust infrastructure where the incumbents right now, they have to have DBA people. They've got to have, all these outside developers and things like that. They're on payroll. They make 90 grand a year. The architect makes 200 grand, and all of a sudden your fixed cost before you even have customer one is 40 grand a month, and we're nowhere near that. And that has been it's one of our superpowers with the launch of this platform.
Well, Jon, I know you're going to crush it. I mean, so when you have someone like you who knows how to build a product, knows how to get to market, right? I mean, I could already tell you're going to crush it. So how can I get on board? But in a nutshell, Jon, let's tell the audience elevator pitch for chef and bartender finder, right? So what's the elevator pitch? You had a nice rehearse thing that was really nice, but what's the elevator pitch? The value proposition. We know it's restaurants, right? We get that.
Mm-hmm.
It's really easy to understand, but what's the elevator pitch?
Sure. So we really have two different audiences, right? So we've got the talent, and we call it a talent because that's what they want to refer to it as, but the hospitality workers. And what they're looking for is a great place to work with the right vibes and family values. They made that crystal clear. We did an analysis of that in the cuisines that they want to, and also in the location where they want to work. And so with that, with our platform, we track as soon as you register as the talent, we ask you some simple questions. We also ask you to answer a few different questions, like, how did you fall into the hospitality business? What's your favorite food? What's your first memory, of working, in the hospitality industry, things like that.
Right.
And by capturing that information, we use standard, smart algorithms, but also AI to then match with their perfect restaurant to work with. And so what we did there is that there are ways to get, this list of 500,000 restaurants with more than 500,000 revenue. But there really is no central source. So we had to go to a bunch of different sources. And then what really saved us, to be candid, is that I've got I wouldn't say a strong background in AI, but I do know, predictive analytics from working with donor perfect and fundraising, trying to target the ideal donor, who's going to be donating again in a greater amount. It's the same thing as a customer, who's going to be buying again in a greater amount, you know, uh, based on their activity. And so what we did is that we were able to use the API for ChatGPT 3.5,
Love it.
right? And for 0.2 cents, I could get a complete profile of the restaurant. And it's usually pretty right. And so it's always very complimentary to the restaurant or resort it writes about, because I said we did a prompt, and I don't know if you know how ChatGPT works, but
Yeah.
you give it a prompt like act as a marketing agent and write a fluffy story about this XYZ restaurant located in this city and town. Try
Love
to
it.
use all your resources available to come up with a backstory. And so things like Waffle House, although they're not a target, but they would get that right. But uh, other ones like Red Lobster is a target market. Obviously,
Right.
they wrote something that the marketing people at Red Lobster should probably copy. Okay, because it's
Well,
really,
great.
really good. But meanwhile, there would be some unknown restaurant like Vito's, and it would say something like, tucked in the Pollock corner of uh, Hobington, New Jersey, is Vito's. It's a farm to fresh table, and really, and founded by Vito Corleone in 1971 with his wife
Right.
Carla. None of it's really true, but the background of what the restaurant is, what it does, and things like that is good. And these restaurants want to be found.
Sure.
So anyway, we're using that AI to match people. So the value proposition to the talent is they can finally, in an easy to use software, they can find the restaurants that they're better than most matched with. And then for the restaurants, of course, they can discover this talent. They can discover the people who's searching for them, who's looking for them, who has a good match with them. And then there's a subscription plans for the restaurants, and we call them establishments. So whether you're a restaurant or resort or thing, you're an establishment, and so you can get a plan, and it's either monthly or yearly. And then knowing from my SaaS experience, typically you always offer a high monthly price, but you say, hey, if you pay for a year up front, you
Right.
save 40%. And the reason you do that is because your customer retention rate, annual customer retention rate, goes through the roof if it's annual, not monthly. So I know that
Right.
from experience,
Oh, yeah.
you're better off doing that. And everyone loves a deal, right? So that's primarily right now, that's where the revenue model is. Future revenue streams come from, there's a third leg of this, and that is the actual, like the culinary schools, the
Hmm.
food distributors, because the food distributors, it is in their best interest for their restaurants to hire the best people, right? It's in their best interest, and they can sponsor, and they can uh, also do ads. And then, of course, you have like the culinary institute, stuff like that. It's in their best interest for their talent, for their students to find jobs. So
I love it.
that's what we're doing.
Yeah. I mean, you help restaurants find talent, and you help
Mhm.
talent find restaurants.
Right. That's
Right. I'm
specifically
like your
geared for
market. I'm like,
hospitality.
am I your marketing guy? I mean, like that's like it's so straightforward. I mean, I love it because I'm in talent. I can't believe there isn't something out there, and I'm seeing great things. I mean, you get this out there, you get it launched, you get noticed. You know what's going to happen, John. Exit
Well,
number
we'll see.
three.
We'll see.
Exit number three. So let's get into it here on, let's get a little techie on the product because I know you're building it. So what's the product like in terms of, you said, how is it built? Uh, how is it differentiated? You're like, there's not much out there.
Yeah.
Like, how are you really differentiating the product? And let's dive in a little bit.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So the legacy products that are out there, their user interface is basically 2006 called, and they want their user interface back. Some of them are getting a little bit better, but the one thing that ours works on, it works on any device, anywhere. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Your phone, your tablet, this desktop, it does not matter. Apple, Mac, well, those are the same thing. PCs,
Right.
if someone is on a Linux, I guess that'll work too. The it simply doesn't matter. The other thing is that uh, with the tech stack, as I said before, we're scalable. We're operating at scale. It's automatically scalable with, there's listeners on the servers. And I've done this now enough that, previously, 10 years ago, it would cost, 10 grand a month, just for the licensing for like SQL Server Enterprise and to do sharding and all these tech terms, mirroring, sharding, clustering, whatever you want to call it, to get a scalable solution, or if you want to go to Oracle, spend $1 million, you could do that. You don't need to do that anymore. And we're able to do that. I would say that the other advantage is that we've gamified it. So when you sign up as talent, you now get chef coins.
Nice.
Okay. And you get tens of thousands of them, even millions if you refer other people. You get millions of chef coins. And what can you do with chef coins? Well, you can redeem them because not quite yet, but it will become a cryptocurrency. And so, but we're like it's a real cryptocurrency with real value. Granted, it's only worth penny, percentages of a penny, but it actually is real because I'm behind it. I'm a real person. It's not a freaking scam. We're not FTX. In fact, one of the things I'm really comfortable about is that I wasn't comfortable about it before because FTF with Sam Bankman-Fried, I didn't understand how in the world did he make money. Oh, now I get it. He stole it. So, I look at that and I go, well, we're not going to do that because really we're using chef coins as like a reward system,
exactly.
Credits, reward system, frequent flyer miles. You get a lot of rewards. You can get a pen. This is not a chef pen, but you get a pen, you get a hat, you get you get one of these. This is our mascot. So you can get a rubber duck.
Yeah, you have you have partners, they
exactly
like, hey, I've got all these chef coins. Does anybody want to reach all these people? Like, okay, like give me some rewards, right? Okay, great. And then you're like, I totally see it, Jon. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So it's gamified. It makes it fun. With the system, when you go through the thing, the little duck waddles across, and then you get coins, and it's just basically like completing 4 across in one of those mobile games that you play, and it goes bing, stuff like that. To make it more fun, I learned that from doing the nonprofit software. People, when they put in like a $10,000 gift, fireworks went off, and I was the first, platform to do that.
That's
people
awesome.
like it, so and that's a differentiator in that. And it's just, easy use. There's no passwords. So I eliminated passwords from these things a long time ago. And we've got partnerships, of course, with Google, with Apple. Now, Facebook is like the hardest company to work with. It's nearly impossible to get a hold of a human being. So that's still in the works. But Apple took 6 months, to get approved. But we did. And so you can use your Apple ID, the text messaging, you can do it by text and register. So we make it super simple and kind of like Uber. Hey, you get the text message. It already knows. It already fills it out. Boom. And as soon as you do it, you don't have to hit enter. You don't have to do this, and you're just in. And then it remembers you forever, just like LinkedIn, just like Facebook, as long as you're on the same device. So if you move devices, then you need to relog in, of course. Now, if you want to use a password, you can, but we'd really try to avoid it because you just get a magic link or a text link to get in there. So that means the value proposition to all of our our establishments is that everybody in there has to be real. All right. Now there could be 17 versions of me as as a testing person, but I am real, and so everyone else though is when we launch, they're all real because they're all verified, and so that's another differentiator.
Nice. So, Jon, what have been the biggest in the past few years, right? 2.7 years, it said that you're in this. What have been the biggest challenges, right? What have been the challenges you've had to overcome, either, business challenges, people challenges, technical challenges? What have been the biggest challenges and what did you do to overcome them?
Yeah, I would think that the biggest challenge is, in some cases money, but we keep on seeming to find investors.
Nice. You're Jon Biedermann.
But if you got a great value proposition, it does help that it had some success. There's no doubt about it. But the other thing is, I'd say that the challenges there. I knew there's always going to be challenges on the tech side. This is my 3rd independent launch, but I've also helped launch like 2 others, and it just takes longer than you think. But you don't want it to be perfect because good is the enemy of perfect.
Right.
And you need to get user feedback. So the MVP, most viable product, is really what you want to aim for. And it is easy to get stuck. So I've had to, discuss this with my team. Hey, this is a great idea, but we're going to have to wait. It's version
Love
two.
it. Love it.
So you do have to be disciplined. Um, and I think that the challenges I think we expect so far, but we are doing the most difficult business model there is in a double-sided marketplace. We're trying to reduce the risk as much as possible by already having all the establishments in there already. Our biggest challenge is going to be hiring, not hiring, but finding the talent. But we got some good people. We got a strategy in place. In fact, I want to bounce it off you, but that's why we're launching. Did the stats on South Carolina. Charleston's a foodie scene. It's big enough to be diverse enough. So what we do there should resonate elsewhere, but it's small. It's not New York City. It's small enough that we're not going to lose our shirt. So we can do tests there, see what works, and then land and expand, and open it up. But we are live in about half the states. Like we're live in New York, we're live in PA. Like if you go in right now, anybody, your viewers in PA, New Jersey, New York, it looks like we're just completely operating. All the restaurants are in there. But if you go to like Iowa, we're not in Iowa. We're North Dakota, we're Washington,
Yeah.
but we are in California, Florida, South Carolina, Tennessee is going to be our next one.
Yeah. I got
So
to tell you, my first real job, one of my first real jobs was Red Lobster.
yeah,
Right. It was literally like I was in college and it was amazing training. And I totally see the pain point of talent. Like, I'm like, how does this not exist? Like, I mean, and then through COVID, how did this not exist? How did somebody not create this? But so in terms of that, and you had mentioned talent a few times, you had mentioned tech stack. So what's your approach to talent acquisition? What's important with you with people? Because I bet you have some great thoughts on that just with your experience. So talent, people, like how do you think about all that?
yeah. So I really believe it comes down on who you know and trust. Um, so because you're talking about the talent that works with me, not the talent we're trying to get on the website. So the all the people that I'm working on this project has worked with me in the past, many of them for a decade or more.
Love it.
There is a scary advantage I'm 52, and I have a huge advantage over anybody in their 20s just because of my social network, and it's not fair. But I'm also it's about one of only two things that get better as you get older. You lose everything else, but you do tend to have more money in general, and then you have more social connections.
Exactly.
So that's a good thing. Everything else is bad. My tennis game's going to crap, stuff like that. But I think that when I first started, not this one, but the previous one, Simply Fundraising, I always heard there was this unicorn of a tech stack out there that was possible, scalable, didn't cost a lot of money. Some combination of AWS and Python and Angular and Heroku and celery stock and all this other mumbo jumbo lingo. But I never saw it in the wild. And finally, I was working with the guy, and he just jumped off the page. He says, "I'm your guy. I can do this." And I'll be
Yeah.
damned if he did. And
Nice.
he referred me to a group out of Poland, a development group out of Poland, and they're phenomenal. And I've worked with dozens and dozens of North American developers, also developers in the Philippines and Australia, and by far, these were they're really really good.
Love
But
it.
they all have their own problems. Make no mistake, it's not all roses and tea or whatever the saying is. There's some problems, but we get over it, and they're good folks to work with. And then the other thing I learned is that you have to give up. So I did give up the CEO role. I'm just not that good at it, and we found somebody that was willing to take it over. She's doing a great job, and and she's got that title, which means that she gets to make decisions that I can't challenge. Now, above when it's above a certain level, sure we can.
Yeah. No, I love it. I just learned that. So are you more like the CTO now? Or are you like
I would say that I'm the brand ambassador, chief coach. I'm a coach, but
okay.
not the general manager. That's so baseball. I'm a baseball guy. I umpire
Love
PIAA baseball, which just means high school baseball in the state of Pennsylvania,
Okay.
varsity level. So I'm really, or the Phillies thing. I'm a coach, but the general manager, she's a general manager, and she can make like decisions and things like that. So, but she does tend. We're a very collaborative environment.
Nice. So, Jon, this has been amazing. Great show here. What are the two biggest pieces of advice that you give? So your journey is unbelievable. Right? I mean, so 25 years, 1 year in an exit, doing it again, right? Your energy's off the charts. So I'm 50, right? You're at not many people can match my energy. Your energy is right. Like I'm like, oh my God, he's 52. He's got this energy. But what are the three biggest piece of advice that you give founders in the business, startups, that sort of thing?
Okay, so the people that are watching your show, if they want to be entrepreneurs or if they currently are, my absolute number one biggest advice, and I should have done this years ago, is that you just need to start. And because I always the story that we use in for this is that it only took me 20 years to be an overnight success, right?
Right. Right.
But you do need to start. And yes, if you want this big shade tree in your backyard, and that's my front yard, but if you want a big shade tree in your backyard that's 70 feet tall, when's the best time to plant that tree? 30 years ago. All right. But when's the second best time? Today. And so that's my number one piece of advice.
Love it.
The other piece of advice I'd say is that your business model and everything should not be validated by your friends or family. They might get you your first customers, and they probably will. In fact, there's a whole story about that. I thought I was a brilliant marketeer, and all my customers, all my Google clicks were working. But no, half the customers came from family and friends. I just didn't know it. But ask them what they'll say. They're going to say nice things, or what they'll also say, I found, is that, oh, no, this will never work. There's too much competition. They don't want to give up, which is fine. But I know that if you really do have a great value proposition and you have a strong business model, okay, that like our gross margins are, over 90% with this. So you really, especially with any kind of tech product, you got to be over 90%. I mean, you just have to be. That's a gross, net. When it's all said and done, I want a 30% net. And it should be done. That's what I've been able to do in the past. I don't see why not here. It's going to take some time to get there, but at least the business model is sound. And you really are. The third thing, you have to be solving a pain point, not hey, we're going to increase your revenue by 200%. Oh, no, that's terrible. And the reason I say that is that human beings, being that they're human beings, are 10 times more likely to try to spend money to repair a pain. Like, you have an infection, in your foot or whatever. You will go hell or high water to go to the drugstore and get, ibuprofen or whatever it's called.
Right.
Or antacids if you're our age, right?
Right.
You will move heaven and earth to fix that pain, but, lose 5 pounds, take this exercise program, you'll feel better,
Maybe not. Maybe
maybe
not.
not.
Give me that donut.
So solve the pain point first. And then if you have, added benefits, like you'll get more customers, you'll get this, you'll get that. Good. But it almost always boils down to, saving them time, saving them frustration, and then which leads to more revenue, more customers, more things like that.
Nice. So, Jon, it has been awesome having you on the show. Stick around. We'll debrief a little bit, but it's been awesome you having you on the show. Absolutely. Everybody listening to this, reach out to Jon. I mean, this guy.
Yeah, I do respond to LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. Just go to LinkedIn.
Yeah. So, Jon, great having you on the show. Thanks a lot. And I'm looking forward to getting together with you.
Great. Yeah. Thanks for having me.